Seeing one. All right. Let's get people in here. Bless you, bless you.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 2 o'clock. Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out to join us today. My name is Ian Chappelle. I serve as your education coordinator for NABOB Foundation, as well as your host for the NABOB Learning Series webinars. Today, this month, we have Miss Ashley Smith, our very own from social media team, but she's from formerly MS Digital, now founder of Dimensions Media. And so she's going to speak to us about digital sales, the part 3 of creative development and the anatomy of an ad. And through this presentation, you'll get a lot of good nuggets on things that could help you get more engagement and more likes through your social media. So without further ado, Ashley, I think the screen is yours.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone who is on the webinar today. Again, my name is Ashley Smith. If you've been on a webinar before, you've seen me. I'll go through a little brief overview of my background, but today we're on part 3 of my 5-part method of helping you to sell social media. And that part is creative development in the anatomy of the ad. And I am going to go a little bit further into what that means and what that title means in addition to the headlining title of today's webinar. So if you're new and you haven't seen me or met me, again, I am the founder and CEO of Dimensions Media Public Relations Creative Marketing Agency. I've got 10 years in advertising sales experience along with public relations and journalism. I've worked in Atlanta at V103 and 92.9 The Game. I then went to New York for Hot 97 and WBLS, where I was their digital sales strategist. And a lot of the examples that I'm going to show you and that I have been showing you in that experience comes from those positions. So while I'm going through, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand as well as to take notes. And I also will be asking questions toward the end. But without further ado, we're going to jump on in. So before I actually take you into the examples and the meat of the webinar, I like to set the foundation with a quote. And today's is go beyond a like. So you aren't selling likes, you're selling the know-how that encourages engagement. And the reason that I put that there is because you're also selling the idea. There is an idea that you have to just show likes and how many likes that you can get in order to get the sale. You have to remember the people that you're speaking to and those decision makers. A lot of them aren't on social media. And then a lot of them can see that you can get your own likes and your own engagement for your own content, but they want the idea, and specifically they want to remove the curtain of how and what is your plan. And as we discussed previously, the strategy of how you're going to get the engagement. So our first 2 webinars, I went over discovery. And that's where you're doing your client fact finding. You're discovering their objectives, their challenges, their threats, kind of like a SWOT analysis. And then you're also walking away with who is their audience. And you're going to match that with the platform that you offer, whether it's television or radio or digital. But then our second step, our second webinar, we went through conceptualization. And that's where we're aligning what our assets are and actually looking at the big picture idea and creating the plan to align to help them to meet their challenges and their goals and objectives. And then today, as I mentioned previously, this is my favorite part. This is creative development. This is where we bring step 1 and step 2 to life. And so on our 4th webinar, we're going to go through execution. And our 5th, we're going to do analysis. We're going to take a little step back. Before you do the campaign, you've done the customer needs analysis. Again, you want to know what your objectives are and what the functions are of social media. And you've seen this slide before. We're either going to be looking for awareness, engagement, conversions, or we're going to be looking to improve customer retention. And so if you look to that right column, these are going to be the key performance indicators to let us know if we are meeting our goals, whether they be new followers, whether they be shares, whether they're likes or website clicks. So again, I started the second webinar by asking myself questions. We're going to do the same thing on the third step. So you've decided what your goals and challenges are. And then you're also taking a look at the assets that you provide. But now we have to bring those ideas to life. So whether or not it's you and your team and you have a graphic design artist and you have videographers, and if you don't, if it's just yourself and you're using an app, you want to ask yourself, what is the look and the style of this particular campaign? Is it consistent with the branding of that the client is already using? Or is this something that's brand new that you can set the tone? What are the colors that you're going to use? Is it warm? Is it healthy? Is it masculine? Is it feminine? All of these things set the tone and for the voice and the vibe. And when I'm speaking about the design direction, we're talking about visually, whether it be a graphic, whether they're pictures, or whether you're having something designed. And then most importantly, with the anatomy of an ad, it is the language. And you're going to learn how to do and create all of this and put it inside of your pitch. And you'll see that in just one moment. So we're going to discuss the copy. We're going to discuss messaging. Most importantly, with all of the campaigns that I see these days, I see a lot of times that they're missing the call to action. So we're going to really hone in on that. And then also if you're using an influencer. And the next area that you want to make sure that you take a look at are your asset types. So you're choosing those platforms. Where are these graphics and these videos going to go? And the reason that you will need to know this, regardless if you have a social media team that is publishing on your behalf or if you're doing it, is because social media takes a lot of work and sometimes just for a minute worth of video. But you want to make sure, since about 80% of people are actually consuming social media from a phone, that you have a mobile experience when you're creating these graphics and these videos. But then you also want to know what the duration is, and we've taken a look at that in our previous webinars. You know that your IG stories are about 15 seconds. You know that your videos on Instagram are a minute. You know that you have IGTV. So when you're creating these ideas, you want to make sure that you're conveying the language, the message, and the call to action within those restrictions, as well as knowing the file type and the file size to ask for from your client, as well as to create for your client. And I always like to give helpful tips to consider. Last time I gave you helpful tips to consider about your social media strategy. Today we're going to give helpful tips for the social content. That is the heart of your campaign. In any time that you're pitching, even if it's just, I'm going to create some promo social posts to help to get some engagement for maybe a concert or an event you have, always write out that concept and make it clear as day so the advertiser or your partner knows your plan. When you are pairing your big idea for this launch, you also want to make sure that you're working with your digital team, and also that you're on your social media daily to know which assets and deliverables have the highest performance, and that way you can integrate them organically. You're going to choose the platform and reach. I'll give you, I think I've mentioned this to you before, older demographics are on Facebook, your younger demographics are on your Twitter and your Instagrams. Those are those things to consider, because if you have to use your budget and use it efficiently, you want to make sure that dollars are going toward where you're getting the highest performance. You also want to take a look at your influencer, and you want to make sure that they're on brand. And the idea and the example that I always give is, I remember working on a campaign, and we had a liquor sponsor, and particular people wanted to use a influencer that did not drink liquor. You also want to make sure that if you have a homie brand, that you're not using someone who might be outspoken. So you just want to make sure that it is a good pairing and that it makes sense if you're going to use an influencer. Next, always show results. So I said go beyond the like. The likes help, but your idea is what does the sale. But you want to make sure that you pair them together. And we're going to go through some examples for that. And lastly, for branding purposes as well as tracking, you're going to want to make sure that you have created that hashtag. And the hashtag is what helps you to sell future partnerships and sponsorships from the success of the campaign that you're currently running. But then it also does the branding. So if people ever wanted to do any search or SEO, or if they're visiting your owned and operated websites. And I have the little colon there with hashtag ad in there, simply because for legal reasons, now it is mandatory anytime that you're doing branding or advertisements of that sort on social media, make sure that you are actually hashtagging with hashtag ad. There are a lot of lawsuits that I have seen come through, and you want to make sure that if there's any way that you can avoid that, that you're acknowledging that what you are putting on your social media channel is not just your content, and that it's an ad. Does anyone have any questions before I move any further?
And you can place your questions in the Q&A box. Should be on the top or the bottom of your screen.
Okay, great. So I don't have any questions. I'm going to move forward. And I'm going to talk to you today about the common social media post types. And I'm not coming from the actual technical type of the size of the ad. I'm talking about the function and how they're normally used. And I look at social media anytime of sales, I'm looking at it as a traffic driver. So the general ones that I use are for daily editorial. So you're looking at what your digital team does on a daily basis, whether they're memes, whether it's comedy, maybe it's something that's influential or spiritual. And these actually are, you're just scrolling on social media, you see it, you laugh, you like, and you comment, but you're not clicking through anywhere. There is not another destination. The second type of ad that is very common are co-branded content promotion, which is original content. That might be something that you've created as far as a video or a blog post, but we are driving that user with a call to action back to a website or back to a destination. Thirdly, that I saw a lot of in radio and television are events. And for user engagement, a lot of times there's user-generated content where you have contests where someone submits their information or maybe a picture or a video using a hashtag. Maybe we're doing registrations for lead generation, but it is highly used on social media. Next are influencer endorsements. So traditionally we've done that in radio and television, but now we're bringing it to life via social media. And then next we have dedicated client-specific advertisements, and that is actually the brand itself. That is the advertising that in the messaging that they would like to use. We have a question, and I'm going to stop here and answer it. Let's see. I see here it says you mentioned being mindful of which platform based on your audience. Is there any additional content or background to this question that you would like me to answer? And you can go ahead and give me a little bit more background as to what it is you're asking. And when I see it pop up, I'll come back to it. Okay, so I mentioned the common call to action language. I mentioned it for the fact that I talk to a lot of big businesses and I talk to a lot of small businesses, and they're very excited to show me what they're doing on social media. But very rarely do I ever see a call to action. So it is that maybe you have a sale, or maybe there's a new product, or maybe there's some content that you want to watch. You have to make sure that you're very direct and that you actually ask your audience to take that action. And so this illustration, there are so many more, but from the simple as download, I do a lot of white paper downloads, simply just doing research for these webinars, as well as creating white papers. Contact us, whether it's a phone call or whether it's registration. Of course, be a resource for people who need to learn more. If you're trying to build your web traffic, make sure that you let people know that you have a website and to take the action to visit the website. Newsletters are huge now because they allow you to do lead generation, but they're also becoming that resource so someone builds brand loyalty. And some, like what I'm going to show you today with a campaign that I created, is watch our video. So just be very, very mindful when you're creating the messaging for your social media in the creative development stage, that you actually have a call to action to judge for your goals and your objectives. So I'm not going to do much teaching anymore. I'm going to actually give you a real world campaign and show you the walkthrough of all the different social media assets that we use. And a lot of them are what I just showed you with the common social media types. But before I move on, we've got the next part of that question, and I'm going to answer that now. Okay. Says, though our cluster focuses on adults 35 plus, how would you suggest we attract younger followers via Instagram and Twitter to our total audience? That is a great question. And what we have done in the past, even though it's 35 plus, we use a lot of our influencers, and we're using younger influencers, and we're taking a look at the content that is on some of the younger sites. So you want to become a part of the conversations that are of that age group and of that demographic. And then what you also want to do is just do some polling. So this comes outside of the creative. Do some polling, do some surveys to find out the type of content that those audiences want to use. And then from the public relations standpoint, benchmark. So if your cluster is adults 35 plus, take a look at the audiences of the other social media channels to see what they're doing. And you're going to kind of do a comparative analysis of the type of content that they're putting out. And then you're going to want to balance the scales between the content that you traditionally are doing to leverage the adults 35 plus, but then little by little, marrying in little sprinkles the type of content that a younger demo would like to use on Instagram and Twitter. And then another thing that I also learned from older adults and the young millennial crowds, learn about their consumption. Adults 35 plus, they're educated, they're financially stable most times, and they like to be educated. So they're going to do a lot more of your long form content. While Instagram and Twitter, for your younger followers, you know, the attention span is a lot less. So you're probably going to have a lot less text in your copy, but you're going to do a lot more interactive video and a lot more color. And in our next webinar, I'm going to go into a deeper dive. And hopefully this idea of the campaign that I'm going to show you, this campaign recap here, it'll show you the two different ways that we marketed on Hot 97 and how we market on WBLS, which aligns great with the question that you just asked. Okay, so for Black Music Month, I had the privilege to executive produce and create a campaign, a content sponsorship for our Black Music Month. And the reason why we also did that is because if you want to take a look at your budgets and you want to make sure that you're hitting your goals, content can be sold at any time. I know that we at MSW did very well when it came to events, and we were always looking at how can we keep that digital line of revenue continuously growing. And that was from, as that question just asked, how do I feed all of the audiences the content that they're looking for? So I was from Atlanta, I was in New York, I was walking the hallways, I was meeting a lot of really, really cool people, and I was learning their history, so it was like being in school for me. And I came to realize that there's some really phenomenal history-making DJs, they're legends. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to recognize the DJs that were walking our hallways because they were very monumental in the world of hip hop. So what I created was a campaign called Salute the DJ. And I see your question, and I'm going to get to that at the end of this recap when the questions come. So just make sure that you write them down, okay? So Salute the DJ was original content. It was Spectrum's client. The client was Spectrum. It was their inaugural digital buy. They had only purchased radio from us in the past. The prep time for this campaign was 3 months. The reason that I'm telling you the prep time for this campaign is because you can always have a great idea, but if you don't have enough time to actually develop it and create it, hence the name of this campaign, you're probably going to come in under and delivering, and then you're probably going to lose a partner or a sponsor. The flight time was 1 month, and it ran immediately after Summer Jam. And the reason that I'm pointing that out to you is because at Hot 97, there was a ton of traffic that comes from the Summer Jam stage and artist interviews. So if we already have a lot of traffic coming, let's go ahead and build upon that momentum. Their objective was to increase brand awareness. Secondly, They wanted to generate web traffic to their website. And then they also wanted to generate phone calls, okay? And there are a lot of different things that you can learn based on the objectives. You know what your client is looking for. After you do a campaign, you can optimize and you can also give them recommendations. And most importantly, I am showing you just the social media today that's a part of this campaign, but it was fully integrated. So we have the support of our own air. We have the support of digital. We have the support of video content. We use influencers, and we also use social media, YouTube, and event activation. So I'm showing you this not to say go out and do a major campaign, a big campaign that takes 3 months to do, but I'm showing you this so you can see the variety of social media post types and the different ways that you can engage, depending on, again, your audience age and what their interests are. So with the framework being the anatomy of the ad, you're going to take a look at the image to the right. This is some promo artwork that we did to introduce this concept, that it was coming to our online content. So you see the different station that we're using. We let them know that the theme is Black Music Month. The name of the campaign is Salute the DJ. We've got the client. They're highly visible, made hot by Spectrum. They're aligned with DJ Enough, Funk Flex, and DJ Chuck Chill Out. And if you think about it, when is another time when Spectrum is going to be able to align themselves and ingrain themselves against hip hop without this opportunity and without this organization? So the call to action necessarily isn't to do something, but it's to bring awareness that this conversation is coming this Monday at the time. And for tracking, as I mentioned, we use hashtag Hot97 Salute the DJ. So I'm going to give you the total impressions delivered for this campaign at the very beginning, because I want to show you the cake, and then I'm going to show you all the ingredients to the cake. So we delivered 8.2 million impressions in the span of this month for the Salute the DJ. And then again, that was across WBLS, and that was across Hot 97. And that was on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And the screenshot that you're taking a look at here is a video segment but on the Hot 97 channel. Over 6,000 views, over 300 likes, multiple comments. And you can see here that the client is tagged, and I will give you some more information about proving all of that, because I'm actually going to show you some slides from the pitch deck. So we had this great idea. We're going to celebrate our legendary DJs, right? That's great. But to a client, they don't actually understand what are the step-by-step process that is going to take place. So it was video editorial, and they were going to be a 4-part video series. That is the crux, that is the foundation of this campaign, to have all of our DJs in a room speaking. I'm going to read off of this verbatim, because this is how the imagery and the inspiration that you're going to have to provide to your clients for your ideas. So it's theater of the mind, and they can kind of get the expectation of what they're looking for. And then I'm also going to point out, if you take a look at this slide, I work with our designers. I gave them different pictures. I told them the look, the feel, the tone. I wanted to be historic. That's why they chose black and white. I wanted it to be nostalgic, but I also wanted it to be bold, but I also wanted it to be neutral across the genders, okay? So the treatment, if you know anything about television, and anytime someone is coming up with an intellectual property idea, they have to kind of give you a summary of what to look for. So it says, imagine a scenario where Funk Flex, Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out, and additional Hot 97 and WBLS Heritage DJs are together in the same time and place, sharing the behind-the-scenes details of their most memorable career moments while telling the stories of Black music history. In a 4-part video series released weekly, hip-hop and R&B fans all over the world will have the rare opportunity to sit as a fly on the wall for never-before-seen conversations between a handful of the most legendary and iconic DJs in the world as they take online audiences on a journey through the eras of music driven by timeless group conversations captured on camera. This is the portion where I'm telling you to go beyond a like. We know that we'll get likes for this content, but the client has to know exactly what is your plan and what is your strategy. Okay, so this was a part of the pitch deck. That's the body of it. The next page that I'm going to show you is how are we going to bring that big picture editorial idea to life? How are we going to create awareness? and that's by proving value and showing examples. Okay. I was working with our digital director. I always take a look at our numbers, whether it be our social media analytics or our Google analytics. And this was during the time when Facebook and IG were changing their algorithms. And so it was very, very beneficial to use your Facebook Live and IG live streams. And that's where you got your largest reach. So if I'm going to read verbatim off these slides so you can see how selling the benefit, improving the value helps you to win the sale. So you're going to increase branded reach as the exclusive sponsor of the Afterwork Mix on social live streams. The Afterwork Mix was something that our programming did on a daily basis anyway over the airwaves. It was my job to monetize that and bring it to life over social. So what was involved with that is you have your branded hashtag, which is your WBLS Salute the DJ, your Hot 97 Salute the DJ. You get your advertiser tag. You're going to get product placement if there's an opportunity for that, and you're going to get increased engagement. And as you can see, we're circling around to see that this particular live had over 81 shares, because that's what's most important. We're going beyond the likes. We want to get to new audiences. This was for WBLS. I'm selling them both together, and I'm selling them both for a reason, because it's easier to actually execute that way, and also it's a larger pitch. Know your numbers. That goes along with the questions that was asked previously about how to differentiate between the age groups. Knowing your numbers and working with your digital team is going to let you see the interest levels of different pieces of content. So there will be a lot of experimentation. This next slide is for the Hot 97 Facebook and live IG live streams. And again, we got a lot more traction on BLS on Facebook. They actually had the largest reach of any radio station social media channel. Hot 97 does wonders on YouTube and on Instagram. So I worked with our digital team, and our IG live numbers, your reach per post, our IG live was 1,000 viewers, and our Facebook Live was 50,000 in plus reach. And I'm going to show you an example of YouTube as well. But I just want everyone to take a second. Raise your hand if you know how to do it. Raise your hand and tell me if you know the average engagement rate per post. I don't want you to tell me what it is. I just want to know, do you or does your organization know your average engagement rate per post?
And you can raise your hand on the panel.
Feedback.
Yep, Sherry, we see you.
Okay. Good. And I just want to make sure that you guys are updating this information, because it changes all the time. You have attrition where you're going to lose followers, and then you're going to have growth, and you want to make sure that you're capturing that growth and updating those stats monthly. So I showed you some slides from the pitch of how to sell the idea and how to go beyond the like. Now I'm going to show you how we brought these ideas to life. So we used the Hot 97 YouTube Live, and that was also doing those mixes. And we had over 23,000 views, 362 likes, and 51 comments. And I'm just going to play a little bit for you. You know, I'm going to take you directly into YouTube because I want you to see. Salute
the DJs all around the world. Salute the DJs. Rocket Camilla, y'all better know it's a Friday turn up time, baby. We done that.
So you heard him mention the branding. He did not mention the sponsor. And I'm going to show you multiple times where sometimes we mention the sponsor and sometimes we're not, only because we don't want to oversaturate the market with the branding. But what it does is when they get other social media posts that has the branding, or if they get display ads, And then again, you also have a lot of rules that come along with your YouTube. So you want to make sure, like our DJs, when we did this, we had to make sure, give me 1 second, I'm going to pause it. We had to make sure that they only played so many minutes of the song so that we did not break any rules when it came to copyright. And I'm waiting on the page to load because I just want to show you where the client is tagged. So you have the hashtag, and then if you scroll here, within the title, DJ Camilo going in on his commercial-free mix made hot by Spectrum. And anytime someone were to do SEO, this is huge for that. If they were to Google, this mix would come up, but it's not direct branding where it's actually pushing a product on you. So we'll go back. Okay, so that was our YouTube live mix because we're saluting the DJ and we want to show them live in action. That is a great way to get higher engagement. Our next form of execution was our WBLS Facebook Live. We reached over 105,000 people, had over 5,000 views, 636 reactions, 47 shares. That means new audiences, much more branding. Was also really cool to me is we had 171 likes, but then almost equally as much as 110 loves. And I believe it says, yeah, and 79 comments. So that shows much higher engagement rates. And one thing that the algorithms are doing now, if you're able to do any type of research, stay abreast of the algorithms. They're always looking for meaningful interaction, and those are those comments and those are those shares. And that's why we want to go beyond the like. In the actual post itself, you have the hashtag, and then you also have you're sponsored by Spectrum, and you're going to see a lot more intentional branding moving forward. Okay, I just saw that third question. Just wanted to make sure that it didn't have anything to do with this slide. And yes, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that. So for execution, this is your WBLS Facebook Live. These are the stats for the number of Facebook Lives that we had. We had over 17,000 views and 1,200 likes, 1,200 reactions. Again, you have your hashtag for branding, and then you also had the client that was tagged here, and you could click back to their site or their social handle. So these are, when you take a look at the other numbers that I'm going to show you, this is much higher engagement than you will get on any other post, simply because it's interactive and it's live. Okay, so we did 4 video episodes, 1 release per week. I want to say they averaged about 3 to 5 minutes. You're going to see all the manpower that it took to create these. If you look to the left, when we were talking about the design direction, we kept it consistent from the pitch deck from the beginning before it was even sold. We showed the advertisers so they did not have to imagine what is the look and the feel. We then continued that on to the design work for these posts, and within every graphic that we use, whether if it was programmatic targeting or online takeovers or display ads. So we had 101 likes here. Your client is tagged. But then I'm going to give you another variation of things that you can do beyond just continuously showing the episodes. We'll click into this. And I really loved our social team for their creativity. And I just gave them free willpower to let them know what the concept is, what we were trying to achieve. And they actually created a behind the scene. We had a photographer there that was behind the scenes, and they showed the making of the Salute the DJ. So it's showing you all the different camera work, the different angles, and just some still shots that go beyond. And you can see that the client is also tagged here, sponsored by Spectrum, Black Music Month. So if anyone were to search there, and I'll actually take you there now. There's some more branding with the client in there. So if we were to use hashtag WBLS, let's see. We ended up getting 60 posts from BLS, higher engagement, and there was also an event. The client was not attached to that, but you will also learn where their branding by being a part of this initiative gave them leverage as well. So over 60 posts that were shared. So I'll get back to the main event. Any questions? Let's see here. Okay, great questions. I am going to answer those at the end. Okay. Okay, so blast from the past. This is going beyond the episodes that we use because everyone doesn't want to get the same messaging every day. Our social media team, they found different images, and I just want to make sure that all these images here were not taken by our staff. They were either used on different stock footage sites. So you have your Getty, you also have your Adobe, and you just want to make sure that if you're going to use someone else's graphics that you give credit to them. And you'll see that here, they put together a photo collage of DJ Marley Marl, and they were just celebrating each DJ with their own posts. You see the client is tagged, different images, but photo credit. And the reason I'm mentioning that too is you want to make sure that you're keeping yourself out of legal trouble when you're doing the creative development for your ads. We'll come back here. This one is really cool to give you some ideas about the creative development and giving your advertiser and your partners different ideas of the type of creative types. This is actually a still image with an audio playing underneath. So hopefully you can hear that. So I'm going to click into it because I want to give you an idea of that. This was not just one of those scrollable type graphics. They actually used this image that they repurposed from another site to market some editorial for social media, to go back to check out a piece for 10 songs by DJ Cool Red Alert, right? And then they did it again with the third. And they marketed the same editorial. So these are just multiple web traffic, multiple ways to build web traffic to the client's branding, which you'll see in just one moment. So we gave them a bonus episode. And again, this imaging, this graphic is consistent with the branding that we had in the pitch. So this is nothing new to the client. This is what they were expecting to see when we gave them the initial idea. And it was for Olivia Dope. We used the image to the left, the still graphic. That particular image, I want to say, received about 82 likes. But if you look to the right, question when someone asked me, how do we reach younger consumers? Yes, video is very, very important. So you have the still shot image, nothing more that I can do. It's a cool graphic. And by cool, I also mean there's nothing as far as you need to go any further. But here there is a video that I can interact with. And it received over 156 likes. And I'll take you into that.
I was always an R&B head, just loving New Edition. Girl, let me tell you, I've seen them in concert about 5-6 times in the past 5 years. Like, just anything R&B, I just gravitated to it. New Jack Swing is my favorite era of music. That just says a lot. Just always just loving R&B music, and it just made sense for me to do something in the music industry. At first, I started off as a dancer, background dancer for Shaggy, Chris Brown, but it was just something about DJing, having that creative control with the music that always gravitated me to this is where I need to be, behind the turntables.
So this was just a snippet to encourage our users to watch the video. Got a lot of engagement. And the reason I have the tag here is Women DJ 2, because knowing our demographics, WBLS has a heavier audience. It's more influential. That are women based. If you were to look at the DJs that we chose initially, those were all males. So we wanted to make sure, in addition, that we also shouted out and gave our content to our major portion of our audience. So I showed you a lot of branded, co-branded content, and that the content itself, it looks like that Hot 97 and WBLS would do that in general, and the client attach themselves. That's what I mean by own brand. Is that content that or is that something that you would do on a daily basis? Where we brought in the client's dedicated messaging is what they provided. Is the graphics here, and these were page takeovers. So anytime someone from social media clicked on that social media ad and there was a link, it drove them back to the 4 different episodes or the different editorial pieces that we used, and it had the client's branding there. So we didn't do front end marketing, we did it on the back end. And for all the blog posts that we created, we had over 4,800 page views. So those are new people now seeing this $29.99 offer that they asked for. So these takeovers were dedicated, and they had to click through to the client website. And then also within the editorial, you had a crumb link that lived within the editorial that had that phone number. And so they were tracking that as well. So for part 3, for the recap, there's a lot that you can know, and a lot of it is really trial and error. So when you're pitching, come up with these great ideas, scale them down toward whatever resources that you have, whether you're creating them or whether there's a team creating them. But make sure that you do them, because the best way to learn from social media is by actually executing campaigns. So number 1 for this recap, we want to keep the campaigns on brand. Make sure that it makes sense. No matter whatever your traditional offering was, the advertising, in order for it to work, has to make sense for both the organization and the brand. As you saw, we did very, very limited, dedicated, directional branding where we were pushing an offer or a sale or anything into our advertisers to do, but we were giving them a resource, and we were allowing them to experience both brands. And when I look at it, it was the alignment of Spectrum against some really, really cool DJs, against hip hop history that they would not have the opportunity to do. And what is that? That's that access. And in order to have that access, you might need to have that Spectrum product. So now you're top of mind in the consumer's mind. Number 2, provide an experience, resources, education, and entertainment. You always want to be thinking about taking your consumers into the culture of the brand to go further than just a swipe and pass the like. Detail your design direction, your tone, your call to action, and your messaging in your pitch. I know sometimes that's difficult to do, but I'll tell you, on the back end, it makes it that much simpler to have things that are already created, and so that there aren't any questions asked along the way, and it just makes the process a lot more fluid. Select the platforms and know your numbers. Just like I asked, how many people know their average reach, average engagement? You want to know these things like the back of your hand, and again, you want to keep them updated, because the big picture idea along with the number is what sells. Keep it organic and authentic. That Black Music Month, again, it aligned with the access to the DJs as well as the access that Spectrum, their service and products provide. I showed you a ton of different variety of post types. I showed you Facebook Lives. I showed you IG Lives. I showed you YouTube Lives. I showed you video. I showed you graphics. You want to make sure that you're keeping things fresh and, again, making it interactive. And then most importantly, so you can use these campaigns again for future and larger sales, you want to make sure that you're posting a hashtag for tracking. So this was a lot of information. I do know that I have some questions, so I'm going to jump to those. And if you have any, go ahead and put them in the question bank now. Okay. So it says, if I'm hearing you correctly, video is important. After looking at younger followers' profile, is there any time better than another in targeting them? That's a fantastic question. And if you have a business account, you also have audience insights. And they'll tell you on Instagram or on Facebook, make sure that you're getting your analytics. It'll tell you the time of day that your audiences are most engaged. And so you're going to want to test those times out. But then you're also going to test times where they might not be engaged. You might be able to create different times of the day where people are engaged. And I always tell people to take a look at your general day and look at the audiences. What are those people's professional lives like? Are they entrepreneurs? Are they creatives? What is the standard behavior, kind of like psychographics of what their day looks like? But then also just don't think about here in America. Social media is international. So you can post at any time of the day. But the real answer to your question is to take a look at your analytics. And if you don't have an opportunity and you don't see them in your analytics, create the opportunity. I hope that answers your question. The next question is, can you give us an idea of what staff and how many hours were invested in this project overall? Another great question. And a lot. I can tell you a lot. We probably had, this was an entire station initiative. So we were using programming. We were using from your program directors to your influencers, to your videographers, to your graphic design artists. I can probably tell you there's probably well over 15 to 20 people that helped in the production of this campaign. And don't let that alarm you, because you can do scalable campaigns just like this with 2 to 3 people. You might not have as many episodes, or it might not be shot the same way. But social media is in fact a tag team effort. So if you have anyone that can help you, if you have interns, they are phenomenal. They are on the pulse of what's going on social media. Make sure that you use them as well. But just look at all the different resources you have. Take a look at the different apps that you use. And then just looking at the trends that are taking place. Because yes, being interactive right now with younger audiences, that is where it is. You're going to have to use video, and you're definitely going to have to go live. Just researching, when you get off this webinar today, make sure that you're researching your algorithms. One thing that I will tell you is, because a lot of the manpower and the staff that were used, you want to make sure that you're delivering on the results. This is not the full recap of the campaign. I told you that it used every single asset that we have from a radio station. Make sure that it performs. And we did not use any paid advertising, so that's saying something. But if you're going to use the manpower to create something that is large, make sure that it performs. I see a 5th question come in. Do you depend on the creativity of your content for organic reach, or do you pay for the reach of your campaigns? Wonderful question. It goes hand in hand. Personally, I love the creativity of the content for organic reach. I'll tell you now, you have no control over that. These algorithms, meaning just the formula that is being used to show within the feed whether your advertisement appears. And I'm going to give you a little insight. Any time of your follower base that you have, so say you have 1,000 followers, 10% of those followers are going to see it. So that's 1,000, right? You may have to actually pay for some of the reach. And you're going to take a look at that by testing. So anytime that I did any paid advertising, I never put all of the money in there at one time. I did it piece by piece, or either I started off organically and I started to see, did it get any lift on its own? And most marketers will tell you, test it out organically first to see how much reach that you get. Is it something that people are interacting with? If it is, then if you can build a new audience base, if you can reach a new geographic location, if you can use a different device or a different time of day or a different country, these are things that you can use. But that's, for me personally, they go hand in hand. One, because you can't sell the idea and people will not engage without the creativity. And then 2, depending on the algorithm, which you sometimes have absolutely no control over, if your client is investing a good investment amount, you want to make sure that it performs, and then that also gives it legs for increased reach. All fantastic questions today. Does anyone have any additional questions or any insights or success stories that they'd like to share? And we've pretty much gone into this now. But I do know that I'm very familiar with the size and the scale of different departments and different teams and knowing how much you can do. Make sure that you're just, as that last question was, that the idea sells, creativity sells these days. And that's why these advertisers are coming to you, because they've done a lot of the same marketing for a number of years. They want fresh ideas. And just like the question earlier, they want to meet fresh new faces. All right, I have another question that's come in. I think I have two. So I'll start off with Sherry. If you have to select priority for a small business starting out, what tools do you suggest? Web, Google, Facebook, and in that order. Great question. So for small businesses, I want to make sure that you have the foundation and the baseline of your business set up. And before you do any type form of advertising, always make sure that one, your website is functional, that you have the who, what, when, where, and why, that you're set up to be found on your SEO. Do a lot of your research on Google. It depends on the type of product that you're providing. So is it someone that is doing retail? Is it someone that's doing maybe a resource where you just want downloads? Are they getting paid on the front end? Are they getting paid on the back end? You just have to look at that advertiser's budget as well. You're looking at what is their average cost per sale. And once you're able to play around with it a little bit and to find out what is their conversion rate, that's going to allow you to test which particular asset that you would use. So there is not a priority that I would say for small businesses, because every small business has, or what should I say, there is not a special formula. It depends on, again, what the offer is, what is their average cost for their product or their service. And then in their age group as well, as we mentioned earlier, the age group, is it an older demographic? Is it a younger demographic? And where are those demographics going? Are they on Facebook or are they on Instagram? But for anyone that is starting off with small business, before you invest in anything, my biggest recommendation is to get your foundation set first. And that is having a highly functioning website. That is making sure that your information is showing up on your Google Maps. That is making sure that you're tagging all of your pictures so that they can be found in Google search engines. And then making sure that your Facebook and your social media, all of those platforms are set up with all the information. You would be astounded how many times a lot of people come and they ask for help. And then I discover that your foundations aren't even created yet. So don't spend any money until your foundations are set. And until you know how your audience consumes media. Next question, Zafora. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Apologies if I didn't. I'm finding when we made our listeners a part of the content, we get more reach and engagement. Yes, that's exactly it. That is the formula. One of the graphics that I didn't show you for this campaign, the call to action was join the conversation. And so what was really cool about this campaign is by asking users to join the conversation, they either were able to shout out their favorite DJ, or either DJs, which is a whole nother demographic of music, came in and they gave their 2 cents. But that is the exact formula. You want to make sure that your audience feels that they are a part of the campaign, that they are part of the station, and that they are taking part in something that is larger than life. So fantastic. Keep doing that. Keep that up. Sherry, we have built a new group of, I don't know what LI is, for African American mental health resources. Do you have any suggestions for inviting and engaging more people? Can you tell me, before I answer that, what LI means? Okay, we have built a new LinkedIn group for African American mental health resources. Do you have any suggestions for inviting and engaging more people to this platform? Okay, LinkedIn is a little bit different, where it's not as, the paid advertising isn't there like your Facebook and your social media. I have done mental health campaigns, and the biggest thing, insight that I can give you is the resource. mental health is very ambiguous and a lot of people don't know about it. So I want you to go through, just like your regular social media, find other groups or organizations that offer the services of mental health that they have, and then your other users will be able to see that you're affiliated, and then that's an interest. So those other people, just like on Instagram, when you're able to see who liked who, they'll be able to see it. But most importantly, give a lot of consistent content. So people return to you. You see how these questions are coming today? People return to you when you have education in your resource and that you can provide something. So do a number of research, build out a content calendar, and make sure that you are also inviting people, your influencers within those organizations who might be professionals in that organization, to like your page. Also send them a message detailing them what you're offering, and even ask them, may not be paid, ask them to become influencers for the cause. And always, 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 you heard me mention this before, benchmark. If you have a particular industry or a vertical and you see someone else has been doing it for a while and they're doing a great job at it, I want you to mirror what you see, okay? But I want you to scale it into something that that you're able to do. But most importantly, what people are coming online for, and really for LinkedIn, is the content. And by content, it can be something as simple as, I'll give you an idea, 5 signs of anxiety, or it might be 10 stressful environments, 10 triggers. I want you to educate yourself as much as you can for mental health resources so that you can educate your audience. Hope that answered your question. All right. A lot of great questions today. It looks like I have another question. Oh, you're welcome. You are welcome for everyone. And I'm going to click to the next slide just to let you find out how to get in contact with me. So on Facebook, it's Dimensions Media. On Instagram, it's Dimensions_media. And then my website is dimensionsmedia.com. And on there at the very bottom, there is a contact where you can send in your information. So a lot of great questions about a lot of upcoming campaigns today. If you need some help, or if you want some ideas, or you just want to pick my brain a little bit, send me an email via dimensionsmedia.com. I have the actual recap of this campaign that I showed you today in its entirety. There are some other campaigns that are on there, along if you have not seen webinars 1 and 2 on discovery and conceptualization, you can watch those there as well. But thank you for your attentiveness. Thank you for your fantastic questions, and can't wait for part 4.
Yes. Thank you, Ashley, for sharing your knowledge, and appreciate you taking the time out to be with us. Guys and girls, please remember to be with us next month on September 10th. Our webinar is going to be hosted by Mr. Sam Weaver. He's the urban editor for All Music Access Group, or All Music Access Group. And yes, he's going to be speaking to us about why it's important, why your career or brand is important, regardless of what department you're in. So I think that's a lot of people can take nuggets from that, working on your brand / career. It'll be great information. And so again, put on your calendar, September 10th, next month at 2 p.m., same time. All right. Thanks, Ashley, again. Y'all have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.